All right, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at kind of a fundamental concept of offense in youth lacrosse, and that is if a player who has the ball down on your offensive end beats his man and drives to the goal, you want to get out of his way. Don't stand there and clog up the middle. So we're going to take a look at why that's so important, and if you follow that rule, how it can create other scoring opportunities. All right, so we're taking a look at just our offensive midfield triangle here. So just ignore the attack and the defense. We just have our three offensive middies, 1, 2, and 3. And we have our three defensive middies, 1, 2, and 3. The attack would be set up in their triangle down low, one to each side of the goal and one at X behind the goal. But for this purpose, we don't need to worry about the attack and defense right now. We can just focus on the midfield triangle, but the same rules would apply to the attack triangle if they were the ones driving. So let's say player number 1 has the ball. He decides he's going to dodge his man and go to the goal. Here's what happens a lot in youth lacrosse, especially at the younger levels and on the B teams. So player number 1 comes in, does his dodge, beats his man, and is running towards the goal. And a lot of times what happens is what his teammate does, player number 3 standing on the crease here, is he just kind of stands and watches player number 1. He wants to see the drive. He wants to see if he scores. He wants to see what happens. But the problem is when number 3 just stands here, he's clogging up the middle. He's clogging up the space that player number one is trying to get to. And he makes it very easy. You may notice here already that we have a 2-on-1 situation, but they're so tight, they're so close together that we can't take advantage of it. So even though we're looking for 2-on-1s, this is kind of a bad one if player number 3 just stands here, because defensive player number 3 is in a position, he's close enough to each player that he can slide and stop player number 1, or if player number 1 decides to throw a feed to player number 3, he can just drop down and defend that feed. So what we need here, instead of player number 3 just watching the play to see what happens, we need him to clear out, to get out of the way. Now, he doesn't just turn his head and run away, all right? He wants to clear out in a way where he can still possibly be a threat and catch a pass from player number 1 and maybe score. So before we go into exactly how that works, I want you to take a look at how our triangle is set up here, okay? We have player number 1, player number 2, player number 3. Now, when players drive or move, we want to keep that triangle balanced. We want to always try and keep that triangle formation as the ball moves. So if player number 1 does a dodge, beats his man, you should already start to see how this triangle can rebalance. Since player number 1 is running towards player number 3's position, all right, player number 3 wants to start to clear out upfield, run away from him, all right? Player number 2 sees the open space that player number 1 just left, so he starts going over to take number 1's place. Number 3 comes up to take number 2's place, and number 1 now has a lot of room to work where he can shoot from here, or he can do another dodge and get to the goal and score. No matter what happens, you see that our triangle ends up rebalanced. 1, 2, 3 offensive middies in that balanced triangle. Okay, so we'll reset here, put everyone back to their starting positions. All right, so you should see how that triangle rotates. As the ball drives to the goal, top player comes across, crease player goes up top, and we end up with our balanced triangle. Now let's take a look at the different looks, different scoring opportunities we're trying to create with that rotation as well, okay? So player number 1 dodges, beats his man, drives. Player number 2 cuts across to fill his space. Player number 3 cuts up. Now, like I said, he's not just turning in his head and running. He almost wants to kind of banana out, looking at the ball, maybe to an open space right about here. So if player number 3 slides to player number 1, player number 1 has an easy pass over to player number 3 right here. He catches, goes to the goal, and score. All right, so now that the players 1 and 3 have separated, created some space, they can work this 2-on-1. If defender number 3, he has to make a quick decision, and that's what we want to do. We want to force defenders to make quick decisions, because a lot of times when you put them under pressure like that, they make the wrong decision. If he decides to go with his man, player number 3, well then 1's got an open lane to the goal. If he decides to do what you should do and slide to the ball to stop the ball carrier, well, that leaves player number 3 wide open for a pass and a shot. Okay, so we put defender number 3 in a really difficult situation by doing this rotation. Okay, So let's say defender number 3 decides to, slide to the ball carrier. All right, and there's not really an opening here for player number 3, so he rotates up towards where he's supposed to be going. Well, we still have player number 2 cutting across the top up here, and you can see he kind of finds some open space to maybe creep in for that time and space shot. Player number 1, the ball carrier, can just roll out, pass the ball to player number 2, and he's got a nice little kind of step down shot right here. Okay, so we'll go over all of that one more time here just to make sure that it makes sense. We've got our triangle formation, but this works kind of no matter what sort of formation your offense sets up in. If the ball is coming at you and your teammate's trying to get to the goal and score, get out of his way. The same rule applies pretty much no matter what kind of offense you're running. All right. Number 1, beats his man, starts to go to the goal. Our triangle is becoming unbalanced. Number 2 recognizes that and starts to move over to fill number 1's spot that he just left open. Player number 3 sees the ball coming towards him, so he's moving up to his new spot in the triangle, but at the same time, he's kind of looking to catch a feed, a pass right about here. All right. Number 1, maybe he ends up getting a shot off, maybe he ends up getting to the goal and scoring, but if not, because our triangle ends up rebalanced anyway, all he has to do is just roll out and he can throw a pass, out to the wing attackman, or he can throw it back up to his man number 2 up here. And our offensive set remains balanced. We're in that triangle no matter what, no matter who drives, no matter which way they go, we end up balanced. Let's say number 2 has the ball here and he decides to drive more of a sweep to his right. All right, he's going this way. Number 3 sees the ball coming at him, so he cuts towards the crease. Number 1 sees that the triangle is becoming unbalanced, so he goes up to the top corner to balance that triangle. Even when it's a sweep across the top, we still end up with that balanced triangle. So just a long way of saying a pretty simple rule on offense. If your teammate has the ball and he's going to the goal and he's trying to score and he's running right at you, get out of his way, rotate your triangle, rotate whatever type of offense you have set up. Not only is that going to give him room to go to the goal and score, but it's also going to create some feed opportunities for him and maybe an opportunity for you to catch that ball, shoot, get a goal, and your teammate gets an assist. So practice that and your team should be getting a lot of good scoring opportunities.